everybody, happy Sunday. I hope that wherever you are and whatever you are doing, you are having an amazing weekend. As you can tell, I am not at home. I am at the Montage Helzberg in Sonoma County, California. It's a very swanky hotel. Don't worry, I didn't pay for this. This is a Honda trip. I've been driving a Honda Prologue, and also I got a chance to ride the Honda Moto Compacto. You're going to have to wait for the Honda Prologue video. That's not allowed to be published until the 22nd of February, I think. But the Honda Moto Compacto is dropping today, if you're watching this on Sunday and you are a Patreon supporter, or Monday, if you are not a Patreon supporter. So you'll get to see that very, very shortly. It was a fun little ride. It's a little video. It's not up to our usual standards, but I think it's a fun video and I hope you enjoy it. Anyway, because I managed to aggravate my knee on Sunday last week while I was still at home, just before this trip, I slipped while I was outside, slipped on some mud and twisted my knee, and I damaged my meniscus, for those who don't know, in a motorcycle accident in November last year. And my knee has been recovering really well, but slipping and readjusting my weight put my knee back to, it really hurts to walk. So while I'm feeling better today, and it's Wednesday when we're recording this, than I was on Monday when we arrived, I'm still sitting down. I hope you don't mind. So today I want to talk to you about trains, because trains are awesome. Obviously, I grew up in the UK and we had a lot of trains. We had a lot fewer trains when I was little compared to, you know, the number of trains that existed when my parents were younger. But when I were a lad, we did have a few number of trains. And yes, I do get to say that just to play with people's brains from time to time. When I was younger, we used to use the train to go everywhere. We didn't have a car. My mum hates cars, and she's never driven. She tried learning and my dad told her she was doing something wrong. She got out and said, well, you drive. And she's never driven since. My dad lived about a mile from the farm he worked on when I was growing up. And so he worked 6-7 days a week, 12 to 16, sometimes even 18-hour days. And so he didn't get a lot of time to drive the car. And so we got rid of our last car in 1983 when I was still very, very young. And so we used to take the train everywhere, train to our local town, Lowestoft, to do shopping. And we'd go to Norwich on the train, and we would, the Waveney Valley line, which I'm still fond of to this very day. But here in North America, there are very few trains. There are some, right? So the Northeast Corridor, pretty decent Amtrak service. On the West Coast, you can get a train from California up to Seattle and beyond. Not necessarily very fast, not necessarily very comfortable, because the train tracks are owned by the freight companies. Majority of train tracks are owned by freight companies in North America. And so they are prioritized, their use is prioritized for the freight rail companies and not for passenger rail service. So they're not always the fastest or the most comfortable. But in the last month, the federal government has released funding for new rail lines and rail services in the US. And today I want to ask you, if you had a magic wand, where would you want new, super fast, reliable rail services to go? Now, obviously, I'm coming at this right now from a North American perspective, but perhaps you live in Europe and you would like to see new rail services that do not exist currently, or maybe, as was the case here in North America and certainly in the case in the UK when I was growing up, former rail lines that were destroyed. In the UK, it was thanks to Dr. Beeching. There's a song, "Oh, Dr. Beeching," and I can't remember the song. I used to know it. And maybe you want to see some of those old lines brought back, so we have a better rail service. I know where I live right now, there used to be a rail station in the city that I live near to, on the west side of Portland, and there's still evidence of the rail station and all of that. It doesn't exist anymore, and the town is rapidly growing. And wouldn't it be great if there was a commuter rail that went all the way from that town into Portland. It would certainly save Highway 26. But I'd love to know what routes you would like to travel by train and what it would look like for you. Maybe you'd like something like a TGF in France, or maybe you'd like a bullet train. I know people sometimes bring up Hyperloops and go, oh, wouldn't it be great if we could travel by Hyperloop? Kind of feel like Hyperloop is overhyped, and a traditional rail line, for the most part, would be a more reliable and sensible solution as long as it was better funded. You know, maybe we need to spend less money on expanding freeways and more money on providing affordable and reliable passenger rail network. And we only have to look at countries like Japan, where travel by rail is pretty expected. And Japan is not necessarily the easiest country to build a rail network in. You know, it's got massive amounts of mountainous land in its center. It's in a massively active seismic zone. And yet, Japanese rail is generally pretty reliable. And it's pleasant to use. I've traveled by train in Japan, and it was a really wonderful experience. So aside from the obvious ones, like, yeah, okay, wouldn't it be nice if we had a really fast passenger rail service that went from the Pacific Northwest down to LA, for example? And you could theoretically set that up so it maybe took 5 hours to get from, I don't know, 5 hours to go from Seattle to San Francisco, or maybe even fewer hours if we had a really, really high-speed rail network. I would like to talk about some of the less common commuter routes and instead talk about cross-country. Which routes would you like to see electrified cross-country? Perhaps you live in the Midwest and you're like, hey, we haven't had reliable rail service for close to 100 years now. Wouldn't it be great if we brought some of those early rail services back? Because, I mean, if you look back in history, the end of the 19th century, there were rail lines all across the US, most of which were killed off in the 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s. Wouldn't it be great if we got those back and reignited the joy of travelling by rail? Because now we've got the technology to build smoother tracks, to have faster trains, and most importantly, to have those trains powered by renewable, clean electricity rather than coal or oil. I'd love to know your thoughts. Maybe you can post your responses below, or maybe you can reach out to us on Mastodon and include pictures of the routes that you would like to see added. And of course, as I will explain in a second, there's also Mastodon as well as Discord. And if you would like to join the Discord chat room, it's a pretty chill place to be. And I know that there are lots of rail fans in there, so come on and join the fun there. I'll be back next week as usual on Take 2 for a usual Sunday musing. I'll be back at the house, and hopefully it won't be raining. Thanks for joining me today, and if you've got thoughts, make sure you leave them below in our Discord chat room, or you can reach out to us on Mastodon. Thanks to the amazing list of people scrolling by on your screen right now. They are some of the more than 1,500 people who help fund this channel through Patreon and YouTube, covering our bills, paying our team, and making sure that we can be 100% independent. If you'd like to join them and see your name listed here, just follow the links below. There are a range of different tiers you can sign up for, from as little as $1 a month, or if you pay yearly, about $10.08 per year. A huge welcome to our newest supporters: Tantalus A. Bond, Michael Baker, Christopher Lawrence, David J. Stober, Noah Tutak, and Ian Hoffman. To join the list and get your shout out, become a paid Patreon member for your week of fame. If you'd like to support us with a one-off donation, you'll find links below to make Ko-fi and Bitcoin donations, and we even have an old-fashioned PO box you can reach us at, address also below. And if you're in need of some swag, you'll find our swag store in the down below.
This month, we're celebrating electric for everyone with an amazing new t-shirt design by our in-house artist and animator, Erin. Get yours today by heading to our Redbubble store. We've got some fantastic content coming up, so make sure you're subscribed on PeerTube or YouTube, and we'll see you very soon. We make new videos every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday. If you want more, the mighty algorithm thinks you'll like this video, but we all think that this one is also well worth a look. See you soon, and as always, keep evolving.